Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Hawkamah podcast. Today's session will be on internal audit and board oversight. We are very delighted today that we have with us Mr. Abdulqader Obaid. Mr. Abdulqader Obaid is one of the key governance figures in the UAE, and he is the chair of the Internal Auditors Society in the UAE. And he has done lots of things in the area of corporate governance in this country and the region. Mr. Abdulqader, welcome on board. Please introduce yourself and your journey in governance since the start until now, please.
Well, I'll try to make it very brief. First of all, really appreciate the invitation, Doctor. I think we know each other for a long time. Just to set the scene is, how did I really start an audit? I think a lot of people would think that anybody who's in audit, the first thing that comes to their mind is that, your background is finance, or you must have an accounting degree or sort of that. To the contrary, I'm an electronic engineer. I did start my career in a company called Dubal, now it's part of EGA. I spent there 20 years. Where I spent 15 years, naturally, was in IT. It used to be called the IT manager, which was at the time the title that I had. And after being there for 15 years, an opportunity came for me to actually attend IMD in Switzerland. Mm-hmm. And that was part of the management placing us in the next level of our careers, really, as the C-suite in the organization, which I really highly recommend to all. I think it's really a very proactive approach of getting people to be ready for the next move. After coming back from IMD, the big change was, guess what? I'm going to leave IT. And I was offered where I headed a team of about 100 people. Mm-hmm. And I was told to move to a small department called Business Excellence. Now, Business Excellence, I spent there for about three years. I was told, it's time for you to change. I said, this time I was looking forward for it. They say, okay, we have a position that you will be heading HR. I thought, HR? It's not. Compare. Why not? Let me go to HR. I spent there a year. And then I was told, because we were going for a special award a Deming Award in Japan, that they wanted me to go back to the Business Excellence, which of course I've accepted that challenge to go back and actually apply for the award. After 20 years, I was headhunted for a job at the Senior Vice President Quality at Dubai World, which was really something good. And after 20 years, I thought I would retire at Dubai. Looking at that job, at the interview, it was a colleagues of me who we were both at the same high school. Mm-hmm. He was interviewing me for the job. And at the time he said, yes, you do qualify for the job of the Senior Vice President of Excellence, but we have another job for you. I said, what is that? He said, the internal audit. So I was saying, internal audit. The chairman has taken the head of internal audit to a very prestigious project, which was Nakhil.
Wow, okay.
One of my closest friends, his name is Hamid Kadhim. I don't know if you know him.
Of course, yeah.
He's well known. Tell Abdulqader, why don't you take the job of the audit? So I said, does that mean I'm going to get 2 salaries? He said, no, you get 1 salary. So I said, you know what? Why not? I think what I learned in IMD is, to be in different areas is good. Mm-hmm. That would prepare you. And, with a bit of a fear, internal audit, I'm not an accountant. What is the expectation? So I said, I'm not an accountant. He mentioned, or one sentence, to be a successful auditor, you have to be a very good businessman. Mm-hmm. This still stays with me.
Yeah.
And I took the job. Surprisingly, after 2 years, I dropped the Business Excellence and I became the Chief Audit Executive for Dubai World. There, I really started the journey of internal audit, not knowing it, but as of today, it's very much a passion for me because I really, really have a passion for internal audit. Because internal audit, looking at it very proactively, is a change agent in the organization.
So I think one of the key lessons we learn is, as you mentioned at the beginning, you don't really have to be a finance expert or an accounting graduate so that you can work as chief internal auditor. You can actually be an engineer, but you have a diversified experience and background that will help you so that you can deliver the results expected from you, right?
You're absolutely correct. I mean, this is the fact. Yes, we do respect external auditors where they come and they do the finance for the company. There, I think it's a must to be able to be a chartered accountant, to be able to try to do the finance in line with the auditing practice. But internal audit, on the other hand, internal audit is not about finance. It's about all the different disciplines in the company. It's really to do with an employee coming into the company, tell that person he or she leaves. And all the interaction with the company and all the stakeholders. Therefore, to say that you need to be in an accounting, that's something of the past.
Okay.
Especially today, you really, really, really need to have that proactive approach. And I say, really, we're looking for more IT people than actually we're looking for accountant.
Okay. So I think based on your massive experience, mashallah, you have been in this job for a long time and you have been the chair of the Internal Auditors Society here in the UAE. What is the role of internal auditor in corporate governance? I mean, how can internal auditor make sure that the company has good governance system? What is it that they are doing there?
A lot of people for somehow they have the misunderstanding of when they hear the word internal audit. Everybody think they are in trouble. When you say the internal auditors are coming tomorrow, and actually I made a small film about it where I asked people in the beginning, what do you really think? Or what do you say if I tell you the internal auditors are coming tomorrow? You know what people say? Some people told me,
What?
I'm going to take leave.
It's that bad. Huh?
It was the perception of internal audit is really wrongly portrayed. People talk about the 3-line model today in organization where you have the first line, the second line, and the third line. A model where we are looked into the third. However, these 3 lines are now very fuzzy, and really are, especially with the digitization that's happening, is no longer first, second. Everything you can know about it at the time it happens, because that's what digitization is doing for you. So internal auditor is there. His job is to become the doctor in the in the company, where they can add advice and become that trusted advisor to the management. And I say the trusted advisor that he is a place where people can go for advice and get that comfort that what they're doing is good. If they want to do a new venture, there's nothing wrong with asking the advice of internal audit. What do they really think of this? We talk about risk. All we do as internal audit is looking at risk that's actually happening, what's happening around us. And these risks are very much changing, depending which part of the world you are. They are changing, and very much, I would say, continuously changing as the world is changing from around us. Especially with this big impact of digitization and AI is happening right now. We have to be on our, on our really knees and finding what's happening to give an advice to the management to look forward, see that in this particular area, you need to look at this before you even think of investing.
Right, but there must be a reason or some reasons why the people that you asked on internal auditor, they said, I will take a leave tomorrow. So this refers to maybe some poor practices of some internal auditors. So what are these practices and what would be your advice? We would like to give people some sort of saying, okay, these are the wrong things. And that's what you should be doing so that people will be happy to receive you in their departments.
Doctor, you hit the nail on the head. The practices of you people have a common thing. So yes, internal audit have a charter that asks that you are entitled to see everything in the company. That's by default. We're not going to. That's the standard. The charter is given to you by the audit committee, supported by the board, that you can take a look at anything. However, unfortunately, some of what you see, these practices of some individuals, where because they have this charter, they feel they have a sword. They come into your department and they demand things. Because I have this power,
Right.
I want this, I want this. We are all in the same company. We are part of the same organization. I would say, no, don't do it like this. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed said, internal audit does not come with a sword on people's throat. No. If you are going to act like this, people going to perceive you like that. They're going to give you the minimum that you want. Just get out of here. Okay?
Yeah.
But if you come with that real intention of being value add to the organization, to the department, people would welcome. I would always say to the auditors, feel the auditee, put yourself in their shoes. They have a job to do, and all of a sudden you're coming over there demanding things. Put yourself in their shoes and see how would you feel. How would you like to be asked? Yes, our job to make sure good governance is there, to make sure the checks and balances are there, policies and procedures are there. Yes, you cannot leave it loose like that, but the way you ask, the way you act, and more importantly, it's not what you do, is the way you act, and what you do is a true reflection of what the auditee would see from you. Exactly that.
Yeah. But I think also one thing that we have seen in different companies when we do governance assessments is you see sometimes internal auditors will focus on very minor things, very low risk things, and they'll ask lots of questions about something which is really irrelevant. And I think in some cases I did ask some internal auditors in some companies, why are you asking about this? What is the risk there? I mean, let me see the risk that will make you ask these questions. So I think also focusing on the high risk areas would be something that they really need to consider seriously. Honestly speaking.
Why would you want to waste people's time? I told you the first lesson that Hamid told me, you have to be a good business person. Put yourself in that shoes of that person.
Exactly.
You have to know the business. If you do not know the business, and you're coming with a checksum that you got from ChatGPT, I'm going to ask these questions. What's the relevance there to that? But if you can add value by saying, there is an alternative to this, people would listen to you. So really, what you really said is exactly, it has to be that things have to be relative to the risk there is. You cannot work in a risk-free area. Risk is part of actually life. You have to take risk. If you cannot take risk, then you might as well stay at home.
Yes,
So
exactly.
I very much, when you see some kind of an attitude, when somebody come and ask you, well, for example, look, I need to see 3 quotation. And you're expecting, I'm going to take the cheapest one. Is that the value because of something like that? The value is this vendor I am dealing with, what he or she or that vendor is giving us as a value as a company. Is that vendor staying with us when we have a hard time? Is that vendor delivering outside of the norm and giving us what we really want in time?
Exactly.
That value have to be measured and looked into. Not that, the price is 2% lower, go with the 2%. That's never the case.
Yeah.
It's the value that we received for vendor, or for that matter, as you said, looking at the risk. And we can live with the risk. That's part of life.
Exactly. Okay, now, I mean, based on your experience, of course, and your work, what would be a healthy relationship between internal audit and boards of directors? How should it look like in an ideal world? And then what do you see of areas of improvement from your own experience?
I reported straight to a chairman. I reported to audit committee. So actually I experienced both sides.
Okay.
The one word which is very important is an alignment between internal audit and the board. That alignment means that we have to set the same line what we're discussing. What's important to the board? It's very important. You can't have internal audit go and do things not in line with the board. It is so very vital. So that alignment, that expectation, because the audit committees, they're versed, they must have some concern. Those concerns must be addressed, and addressed in a way that internal audit is not doing things as it likes, because it must be speaking that alignment between, people sometimes take, objectivity and independence sometimes to the point where as if you're working by yourself in one side. No, we all have to align. That word alignment means a lot between the internal audit and the chair of the audit committee and the committee aligned. Also, the alignment should be with the management, because you are working with management. You are internal. You are not external. You need to make sure the alignment of the CEO aligning in terms of the risk and the high risk with internal audit. So there is a common ground there where they're talking about. It's not that he's doing something and the auditors are doing something totally different. That alignment means a lot to the bottom line, which is very important.
In this case, for example, alignment is important between the board and the management and the internal audit. But what is the guarantee for the independence of the internal auditor?
See, when you say independence, what is it? Your opinion, your objectivity is always in place. That's why the IIA Global this year have come up with a new word, which is introduced into the new IPPF that we have, the new standard of IIA. It's called courage. That courage has been introduced for the first time in 25 to be implemented. What does that courage means? When internal audit are doing their work and they see things which are outside of the good governance, it's time to stand as a rock in this river.
Okay.
And to be voicing your opinion objectively and with total independence. That's what's required. That means I can go along with you. But if I do not agree with you, it's mandated for the head of audit to actually state it, that I do not agree. When I say I do not, because if you're worried about your job, you hear there's always whenever you issue the report, everybody looks, what's the rating of that report? Everybody talks about, is it, if it's bad, it's going to have a bad reflection. The people feel bad about it. You know what you have to do, if the other people look at it from a positive side? It's free consultancy. Internal audit is doing free consultancy for you. So if you look at these things and you say, okay, you're giving me these areas where I need to improve and do better on it, why not? Exactly. I didn't pay you. Other people pay consultant to give you these things. It's coming to you. But if you do not agree with the management or a department in something, it is mandated for you now by the new standard is to stand your ground and say it. Otherwise, you're going to have a goal on you.
Okay. I see your point.
Yes.
Now, things, as you mentioned at the beginning, are changing rapidly, and risks are evolving in different ways, depending on where you are, the circumstances, the country, the region, the world, geopolitical. You have lots of things happening. In your point of view, what would be the top 3 risks that internal auditors and boards, as you mentioned, to be aligned, should be really looking at in the coming years? Say, let's give advice to people for 2026, 2027. What is it as internal auditors and as board of directors that you should be looking at and keeping your eyes on and trying to monitor what's happening there from your point of view?
It's as you said, you can go to different part of the world and the answer could be slightly different. We did discuss the alignment is very, very important. Okay. Today, in terms of risk, we've gone through, especially I think COVID was a very good lesson for all of us.
Yeah.
I always look, Once you're aligned with the board, I think you should be able to try. Number one, I think internal audits should be very much agile. When I say they should be agile, to be able to try to mitigate the risk, depending on which part of the world. I say today one of the biggest risk for any organization is talent.
Mm-hmm.
Having the right talent. Because what makes companies, what makes countries, and what makes families successful is one word. Is that leadership that you really have there. And that actually transform to the right talent that you have. Whether it's an internal audit or within the company, if we have the right talent, it's very good. And to make sure that you have proper succession planning for them, because it's very important. Today, you cannot ignore AI.
Okay.
When I say you cannot ignore AI, what AI has done in the last 3 to 4 years, the internet has been there for the last 20 years. It's actually surpassing it. So AI is very important. And we should really embrace technology. No job today, almost most of the job, one way or another, is going to be automated. 40 years ago, people used to do sampling and audit. That was very much a tradition. You'll go and do, and if you did 30%, oh, you did great. Mm. Today, nobody talks about anything like this. Today, people talk about, you have to do 100%. There's nothing called a sample audit. You have to do 100%. And the only way you can do it, if you're IT whiz, if you can use technology to do that. And today, it is possible. Mm. To be able to try and to, I would say, make the mandate job of audit obsolete. Say what? We need to, the old way of doing things has to be obsolete. Where I mean that I am sitting here, the audit is actually happening. How's that? Something called continuous auditing. You probably heard of that. You understand. What does that mean? Continuous auditing is nothing but actually using your IT systems to be able to give you the alarms at the time things go outside of hysteresis. Mm-hmm. So you know things as they're happening, to trying to make sure you do it right. Continuous auditing is something that we all have to not only embrace, do. Because you cannot do it the old-fashioned way. You have the right talent. You can do continuous auditing. You build on top of that AI to forecast what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So before things happen, you can put, now there are tools. You can see trends of fraud. Mm-hmm. You can see trends of things going down. You should be at the pulse. You should be that person with the pulse of the organization, that we are in good shape. That means today management is making sure that all their KPIs are kept up to date, but it's actually, you can see it at the finger of your hand, so you know what's happening. When you wake up in the morning, you know exactly where you stand. Auditors can make sure that becomes a reality in an organization. Mm-hmm. Because for us to be able to be that change agent not to trying to find mistakes, is to find ways of enhancing. And with continuous auditing, you can definitely get that one done. And you know what's going on. Using AI, the next thing is to become that trusted advisor to the CEO, mm-hmm. where we want to be in that place.
What you are saying, does it mean that internal control will be some sort of a preventive measure? So it prevents variations or mistakes because it's 24/7 working. It's, they have always these red lights and you are asking the auditor for his view before you do something, then he or she can give you advice against some certain things. So is it now preventive control?
Yeah, because, today with continuous auditing, It's gone the days where you're going to look at history. Look, history is important for us to learn from. There's nothing wrong with checking to see what's happened before. No, we can do it. But what really matters today to the board and to the CEO, they're looking forward.
Mhm.
And you need to be looking forward with them. And how can you do this? If you are tooled in terms of your people to be able to do continuous audit, and by the way, continuous audit doesn't just come overnight. When we've done a maturity assessment, we still have people doing it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
There's a long way to reach that level. When you do that, then you are ready to actually use AI in the right way to be able to add that value to you. So yes, gone the days of doing things the old-fashioned way. Now today, I hear with what's happening around us, what AI is offering us, it's mind-boggling. And people think that half of the jobs are going to disappear. Yes, half of the job will disappear. Whether it's auditors, accountants, because if it's going to be in the old-fashioned way, a system can do that. You do it, put it back, put it together, balance it, and it's done. Okay, everything is done. But where is the new jobs going to come? That's where we become with a different mindset, proactive mindset. How can we use this data using AI to predict what's going to happen? And today, prediction can happen.
But in this case, then, how would we differentiate in companies? Because again, you have these two jobs. You have the compliance and you have the internal auditor. So the compliance is doing sort of the same thing. How would you differentiate these two? It's going to be like the same job eventually.
Most CEOs ask the same question. I have compliance in the company. I have risk management in the company. I have internal audit in the company. Who else you have? Other compliance?
Sometimes the excellence.
Excellent people in the company. So, from a CEO point of view, how are you going to be looking at these things? Do you want every one of them to be able to do their own bit? Sometimes, and I see it, sometimes regulation can actually force things to happen that way.
Yeah.
But we need to be proactive, because now today, compliance is to make sure things are done in terms of regulation. Once you do it, it is there. Once you put the systems in there, it is there. What's next? Move forward to the next step. So I feel audit is sitting in a very good place where they can liaison with the rest of the compliances in a company. Where when I say they can liaison, we can all come together. First of all, look at it from the CEO's point of view. Why do I have 5 different heads? I want one story, which matter to the business. Put our heads together. We put one story. First of all, we save in manpower. And most importantly, we are all joined together. We are working in the same company. There's another word that I've actually heard about is called audit fatigue.
Yeah.
Okay. And I've seen a case studies where Dr. Especially this not two areas audit love to go there. One is purchasing, and the other one is IT, because purchasing you buy everything in there, and you want to make sure that we are actually spending with the right vendors, and IT because we are putting the right systems. And I've seen this department actually that has 6 audits happening at the same time.
Oh, that's a
Different
nightmare.
audits.
That's a nightmare.
So you look at it from that perspective of the auditees. When does he have time to do their job if they're going to be doing this? So we have to be sensible. When I say is you have to be sensible about what you're really doing in there. Auditors should, when they go somewhere, and I challenge some of my colleagues, when they go to an audit and they want to do an audit, I said, okay, if you go to a department and you see that they have covered all of their previous audit, you see in the opening meeting that they are very clear in their KPIs and their everything, and everything is fine. Do you really need to want to do an audit in here because you have an audit plan where you can go somewhere else? Can you say, you know what, I see things are okay and I want to go somewhere else and look at more a priority, because we always look at a priority.
Risk-based audit, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's a mind shift, and you really feel it is when a chief audit executive moves from his place or her place to the next level and become a CEO or a COO. And we should be thinking at that level. You need to be thinking it from the other side.
Yeah.
And how people are looking at you. And this is the best thing that actually will audit are seen value add. Not trying to say, I got you.
Very common culture, unfortunately.
Because, we have, there is a mandate by the standard. The auditor should be audited at least once every 5 years. I personally do not believe in that. It should be even more frequent than that, because so we can feel what's happening with others.
Yeah.
This is called the quality assurance that we do it to make sure that the auditors are actually in line with the standard, and to make sure they are actually audited in line with the standard of the IIA Global.
Yeah.
So this is how I see it.
Yeah. Now, one of the key challenges we see in governance in general, طبعا احنا from our perspective in Hawkamah, we see that corporate governance for listed companies is straightforward. For financial institutions, it's straightforward. لأنه خلاص, you have lots of regulations, you have even jobs and functions, you have fit and proper for the banking sector. It is there. But when we look at family-owned businesses, that's where we start to have some challenges. We have challenges because of lots of reasons. You may want to explain some of them if you like. What about internal audits in family-owned businesses, which are non-listed companies? Now, we have in this region, of course, some of the very large companies in the region are actually family-owned businesses. And their economic impact is quite big. But yet, when you inspect the governance systems in these companies, it is really very fragile, and you see the risk of this patriarch or this person leaving or dying or whatever, because you can see that. What are the challenges and your advice for this function of internal audit, whether for the function or for even the families?
Doctor, you hit on a very, very sensitive subject, especially in our region, in our area. When you have a person who started a company, I don't know if you have, 3 or 4 people in a company they started, they could have a small grocery shop where they manage, or they have a restaurant. Do you expect internal audit to be there in that restaurant? Why not?
It's family, it's our money, it's our business, we take care of it. I handle the cash, I handle the purchasing, it's my money. Nobody can do anything wrong, so why do I have to have internal auditor? That's the mentality you get in smaller.
You're because so you've alluded to it very well. You said, yes, if I'm the decision maker, I'm buying and I am selling, I know what I'm doing. Internally, that's your policy and procedure, what you are actually doing, because you're making the right decisions for your own company. But if you want to expand, you're going to have to start becoming bigger. You're going to have hundreds of people. Then you need everybody to align to exactly to what you are saying. How that can be happen. That's why we need to make sure that alignment becomes in some kind of a policy and procedure, so everybody would follow the same thing. Because if you have 10 people sitting around in here, and you tell one person something, and you ask him to tell the same thing to the other 10, by the time it comes to the 10, it's a totally different story. So that's why we align it in what we call or translate into policies and procedures to make everybody addresses this.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, in 2008, when we had the big boom, you remember, family-owned business did not get affected very much. And that was a study done by Deloitte. They did not get affected because they had their own way of looking at things, because whether, the owner and the chairman made the decision because he or she felt it's best for the business. That right decision, because governance is about making the right decisions.
Exactly.
Whether it actually comes from the board or comes from the CEO, it is for the business. Is no other interest. That's how it's related. So, yes, we always hear the saying, the grandfather builds the company, the father runs it, and the child ruins it. It's a very much a thing within family business. And I don't have to say it, it's well known. So how do we actually make sure that it is there, and how do we do it? It's there. It's all about how decisions are made to make sure they are in the best interest of the business. And sometimes, some of the big companies, their own decision has been made for a reason or other. Is it because the board wanted to have the bonus? The CEO wanted to have the bonus, and people wanted to have the bonus? And then who take the consequences? The whole company will take the consequences. So to me, it's about how to decide. My very simple saying, listen, there's a difference as you grow bigger. Now, when you grow bigger, what is the right time when you become big enough is to bring an internal audit to make sure that the checks and balances, the policies and procedure, everything is in line with the listed company, is when ownership is taken away from decision making.
I see your point.
While you have the owner in there, things can move because that owner is making what's best.
From his point of view.
From his point of view, but and now some family big businesses, they're bringing in board because they're saying, I want to be challenged just to make sure, the challenge from the board to make sure that, yes, it is the right decision. Simple as that. At the end of the day, chairman and the owner of the company is going to make the decision for the best benefit of that family-owned business. But what happens is, if owners become too entrenched in the daily operation, they ignore the bigger picture. So that's why boards come in there to make sure that line is there. The separation between ownership and managing business become clear. And more importantly, you mentioned it, the succession planning. The succession. And, we've seen some of the good business in here where, they have their, and I've heard it. I think Al-Ghareer was mentioned, he said, I have my son. He graduated and I have a big business. He can come in here, but I don't want him to come in here. I want him to go outside, work, see how the tough life is, then come to the business. Come with the experience, because there is nothing can take the place of experience. When you bring in board members, you're bringing in different experiences, the different talent from different places, so they together can make the right decision. And it's all about the right decision, Dr. Sahar.
Definitely.
Yes.
Then I think one of the advice that you give now, it's extremely important for family businesses, and that is, you don't get your children to work with you in the company from day one. You send them outside to work in different places, get their own experiences, get their knowledge, learn the lessons of life and business, and then you can get them back to work with you if you like.
I'm not saying that's one way of making sure that you separate ownership from running a business. Simple as that. Because if the son of the owner is there, everybody knows that that's the son of the owner, that's eventually the owner. But some people have that foresight. As they say, no, you go outside to learn it the hard way, then come. The place is always yours. But it doesn't mean that, if you want to make somebody learn, there's different ways of learning. That's one way of doing it. Absolutely.
What about the challenges for internal auditors in government organizations? Because that's a whole different world. I mean, whenever you have a board of directors, as you mentioned, you have diversity of the board, you have an audit committee, it's mostly independent audit committee and so on. So the internal auditor has a reference or a back, or he can go back to support from the audit committee, and he gets his plan approved by the audit committee, and they follow up with him and so on. Now, what about when we talk about the challenges of internal audit function in government institutions where there is no board of directors?
I've tried it. I said at one time where I didn't have a board. I was reporting to the chairman. And sometimes it's a blessing, to be very honest, because decision can be made just on the spot. It's all about the decisions. And if you have a good chairman, you really are very much blessed because things can go fast, okay? Because the chairman would know exactly what needs to be done and you're very much in line and you're moving forward. There's nothing wrong with it. And it does add value when you have a board because then you have some other people who can validate that decision. So in current government institute, we see it. We see most of the audit in here. The head of audit report to the for example the highest, whether it's the minister or sometimes the minister is there, but the daily operation with the assistant assistant or the deputy. So under secretary where they can work with. There's nothing wrong with that. But most important to the chief audit executive is that he or she is fully aware of the business that they are in. And they have what it takes to bring the right findings to make sure that the minister or the undersecretary is fully aware of it. And sometimes between the two, I've seen it in there, it works very well because the undersecretary is very much in line with the minister, but they actually have it's always that the head of audit is seeing the minister, not to make sure that it's just like, no, I'm too busy for It's there to make sure he has that continuous relationship because remember the undersecretary and the minister are very much close to each other. Yes, and that's how I see it. It's to make sure that line there is no disconnect into it. Now, in the government, you would say, would you love to try to see audit committees and or boards at the ministry? In some places, because of the situation, it may be a bit difficult. Okay,
yeah.
But it's not wrong. It's one way of doing things, as long as that line is straight and that communication line is straight, we're in good shape.
Yeah. Actually, I don't want to share names, but in fact, from our experience in Hawkamah, we have done a lot of work for government organizations. And in some cases, when some organizations had a board of directors, they had extremely good governance system. Everything was in place, strong internal audit function, everything was fine. And in some cases, when that board in that specific organization was removed, we saw deterioration on the governance because, now it's becoming to one person and he will decide and there is no ratification of whatever he decides. There is no sort of interest in the idea of having strong controls and having good governance. What I'm trying to say is I think when the board is there, it adds value. If it is feasible to have it. As you mentioned, of course, sometimes talk about a ministry, you cannot, it's too difficult. But I'm talking about non-ministerial sort of organizations. The idea of boards, we have seen it ourselves and we have seen comparison between when they had a board and when they did not have a board. So we could see that, no, there's a big difference.
I cannot agree. I agree with you. When you have a board, it's always to have a decision made by more than one person, looking at all the different angles, no matter who you have. It's always good to validate that decision. Yeah. Absolutely, I do agree with you. And I encourage, having a board with proper diversity. When I say proper diversity, to be able to bring value to the decision that's been made. So, sometimes, people say that all board must be, you have to have that diversity to actually think outside the box sometimes. It's very important.
So when you say diversity, what do you mean by diversity exactly? So that people understand, consider this to be an advice, saying boards have to be diversified. In what sense?
See, this is a very good thing. You always need to have somebody you can have a different opinion. There's nothing wrong of if you are in retail business is to bring people with retail experience, because you may be doing something very good in here, but if you bring somebody into the board with an experience of retail in different areas, they can add value to you. Okay. In the same field, you might be the expert in there, but to bringing somebody else is always good. And when I say the full diversity and inclusion in a board, it's a must. It's a need for a business to survive today, really. Not to trying to bring people who are only there 4 times a year. No, the board need to really get down, not into those 4 days, need to get down with the management, understand the management, understand them, and meet with them so they can have a better understanding of the business itself. It's all about understanding the core business. The more you can understand, the more you're aware, and you can agree or disagree on what's going on. But this is what I really mean in the diversity of a board.
So you talk about diversity of experience and background and
Absolutely.
knowledge.
It's very
But what
important.
about the diversity of age, for example? Especially you talked about technology a lot and AI, for example, and so on.
Yes.
And maybe the board has to make some decisions in areas where they have no clue what is this exactly.
Doctor, nobody knows everything.
Of course.
And it's nothing wrong when you do not know anything, you say, I do not know. AI, to some of us, is a black box. They do not know where to start. Yes, we do bring in people who know that subject. We bring in people with experience and subject expert matter. That's what we want to bring in. Age is irrelevant. Okay? You bring some people today who is actually 25 years old, who you talk to them about AI, they can do things for you. They can make your processes much easier. Use them. It's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
We do not have, because you have to be a board, because you have to be X years old. No. Experience is important. But you need to try to have that diversity to make sure. If AI is very new and you need people to understand it, bring subject expert matter in that to actually who can actually give you the value, give the value to the board. And the board is always welcome to bring in advisors and consultants, because that's what they need. And you know what? As board members, sometimes we need to roll our sleeve and get dirty and start learning. It's never too late to learn.
Of course. Definitely, yes.
Yani that's what it
One
is.
of the good things actually a few years ago, it was 2020, I think, where the Ministry of Cabinet Affairs in the UAE, they issued some regulations for boards of the federal government, in which they added that every board must have at least one young person,
Of course.
under 30, and one female as well, so that you make sure that you have a diversity of background and so on. طيب, I want you to give us maybe 1 or 2, from your point of view, with names and everything, excellent examples of the internal audits and its work and its relationship with the boards from the UAE or the region. You can mention names. I mean, because it's a good thing anyway. So
Okay, look, I
you don't have to, but
I really would like to bring this this example, and I'm very proud to actually bring this example. This reflects what the IIA this year brought in the word courage. This is a case that happened within our region, and it's not something it's from Saudi Arabia. And this sometimes happens, and a lot of people come and talk to me. For example, when a chief audit executive believes in something and he goes and puts his recommendation in front of the CEO, the CEO doesn't like that. He said, that's going to have a bad reflection on me. So what does that CAE, he or she would do? And you know, you're getting paid from the organization. And then the way I look at the CEO is the captain of the ship. He's the captain of the ship.
definitely yes. Yeah.
He's the one who's making the decision. The board is the tower that gives him the direction where to go, where he should be. But the person who's actually driving that plane or driving that ship is the CEO. He's the decision maker. stop, go, whatever. That's his decision. Absolutely. So what happened when a report goes, a bad report, a finding which does not agree with
The CEO story.
CEO story, and it does affect the bottom line. And this exactly happened. Chief Audit Executive, and when I say the word courage, I actually put his name and I put courage on the other side, is he discovered something. The way the revenue was calculated, the bottom line does not make sense. This is like buying fish in the sea. You can't buy fish in the sea. Now the chief audit executive says, I'm sorry, but this is what I see. So he goes to the CEO with the finding, and the CEO says, what are you talking about? No, what you're saying is wrong. Go speak with the CFO. They go speak with the CFO. CFO, I'm sorry, what you're saying is not correct. No, this is what it is, and this is what we're going to be calculating. This is going to be our profit. On profit, people get paid and get bonuses. And the person didn't believe in it. So what would he do? He went to the audit committee. Told the audit committee, I don't believe in this. They looked at him. What do? We bring in the external auditors. Financial item, very simple. Bring the they need. The external auditors, they came. And guess what? They say, no, we do not agree with the chief audit executive. At that time, indirectly, the chief audit executive received, it's better for you to resign or go with the flow. What would you do at that time?
If I'm convinced something wrong, I would resign and take it to the regulator. So I wouldn't go unless if I'm not sure. If I'm sure something is wrong, I would have to do something, not just resign.
This is a true story. The chief audit exec, he was under. Now, I can change my mind and go with the flow. Everything will be hunky-dory. Knowing the CEO and the CFO and the company's name at stake. You're talking about actually opening the books, the previous books, and taking logs in the previous years. This is not a small thing to do. So the guy actually took the time to sit down with his team and said, listen, guys, come on. Let us sit down and discuss this finding. And are we really, can they all be wrong and we are correct? Sat down with his team and stayed till up to 3 o'clock in the morning. And at the end of the decision, they said, you know what?
We are right.
We are right. Now what do you do? Fortunately, the board, he had the trust, listened to him. And outside regulator somehow got involved later. But the person did not change his mind. And guess what? He was correct. And the company had to open back books.
All files.
All the files. Now, he could have, they would say a lot of people accept that, let life be. I've done what I've done. I do not agree. I put it and I move.
خلاص, I did my job.
I did my job. But the word courage comes synonymous with internal audit if you want to be in that field. And especially to the chief audit executive. Because what he actually did, he saved the company. When I mean he saved the company, because if you see a problem there is a time where you can do something about it. But if you come too late, then it's too late to do anything about it. The problem, the problem is already it's finished.
Yeah.
As they say, if somebody writes a check, which is you write a check and you go. If something you find it at that time that the signature is not there, you can do something about it. But if you didn't, and the cashier moved everything and get approved, and the money got out of the it's gone. This is exactly what happened in here. This is exactly what happened. They had enough time just to actually open the books and fix things with mobile.
Yeah.
And the guy's name is Abdullah Rawais. The reason I'm saying it is because I salute him for what he was able to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a lesson for us. Is when you are right, you stand that rock, and you have that objectivity and independence.
But then at the same time, if they actually listened to him, it would have been, because I recall at this time, what happened is, I think it was more than 50% of the share price that was lost.
It's a big thing.
So if they listened to him from the beginning and fixed it internally, they waited until the regulator got interfered with it.
A lot of people got involved.
So it became a public issue.
It became a public, but it's unfortunate.
But the company paid the price. The shareholders actually paid the price of that.
It was saved. At the end of the day, the action of true independence and objectivity with courage. That's what we're talking about, Doctor.
طيب, we are close to finishing, but I want to tell you, just from your own perspective, what should be the 3 top priorities for internal audit in the coming year? If you are saying, guys, these are the top 3 things you have to think about or focus. It doesn't have to be areas of risk, whatever subjects.
Having very talented people is very important.
Okay, having the right people.
Absolutely, for internal audit. Make sure that you assess your people and make sure that they are the right people with you. Okay, that would make or break an internal audit. Embrace AI.
Okay.
When I say embrace AI, it's very, very much in. Third and most important, I would say, is have a good alignment with your superiors, whether it's in the ministry, in the government, to make sure you are in line with them, or with your board. That alignment is very, very much important, because if you have that alignment, your risk will be approved by them, so you can work very comfortably. But you need those 2.
So in this respect, then, what would be the things that you are asking boards not to do anymore? If
boards?
Yes, not to do anymore, so that.
See, this is board should not really interfere in the day-to-day of operation, because, to be very honest, you have a CEO. You have to trust that CEO. If you do not trust that CEO, find another CEO. But you have to trust that CEO. You empower him to actually safeguard and fly that ship or that plane. But don't be getting into the nitty-gritty of getting into that, because that's you're sending the wrong message. So board have to know where their role is, and the CEO is the captain who's actually driving that ship.
And finally, an advice for the audit committees. What is it that they should be doing or should not be doing as audit committees?
Well, I mean, it goes with the same thing. I think today's audit committee is different than before, especially with the new role. You talk about today. With what's happening with AI and cybersecurity, audit committee at risk of things could be, especially with having online meetings today. I don't know if you have seen this. The head of finance was asked to pay a big amount of money in a virtual meeting where it was a lookalike of a CFO, a lookalike of the CEO, and a lookalike of the business unit.
Yeah.
When a decision was made, do you blame that person? It's happening today. So AI is something to embrace and something to be aware of. And the board need to educate, the audit committee need to educate themselves about this new. Because today cybersecurity is not 5 seconds pass unless somebody has been intruded. Today, you cannot leave home without your phone. We are so much attached to this phone. Everything is in it.
Yes.
You know, your whole life is in it. Whether every single secret that you have is in your phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's nothing but technology at your fingertip. It's good. But if you lose your phone, your day will be ruined.
Your life will be ruined.
I'm saying your life will be ruined because, you know, everything from there can happen. So be aware of it, embrace it, start learning.
Mr. Abdulqader, I cannot thank you enough.
والله بالعكس صراحة.
We always learn from you والله يعني بجد
لا
يعني thank you so much for your time and for sharing the knowledge with our people, and inshallah I'll be working together much more in the future. الجمعية عن حوكمة.
لا بالعكس. No, we honestly we feel very lucky to be working with Hawkamah, and not because Hawkamah has a track record. When I say you've graduated more than 10,000 board members. These board members, they're certified. They've done the work. At least that's the license to work on a board. And I think it's something to be very proud of. And we're very happy because, you know, we need to, you know, you never stop learning. Whether where you are, you know, till you die, you need to learn. And, you know, board members, you know, I say, I'm so happy that we are actually working together. Yeah,
it's our pleasure. And as there is a very famous wisdom in this, which says corporate governance is a journey, not a destination. You are always there, you're always acting, you're always moving because things are changing anyways. And the governance has to change to reflect the new realities of businesses, risks, opportunities, and so on. So thank you so much for your time.
لا بالعكس. I'm so happy صراحة to be with you. I'm sorry for the cold, but يعني, as I said, it was from the heart to the heart.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you so much.